You guys have asked for a little bit of guidance on editing and how I edit my episodes. So I've got one coming out this Tuesday. I interviewed somebody named Tanya Jordan. She's the CMO and Chief Parent Officer of Bark Technologies. So I've got
so chilling to think of what could have been, and we're just thankful to be a part of it.
I've got her audio here. So this one on top is mine, is my audio, and the one on the bottom.
I posted something on Facebook or whatever,
and on the bottom is Titania's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of the controls or how I put it together. It may seem a little bit messy, but it works. So what I'm going to do, so I've got my audio already. I've imported it from the Zoom H6, and I'm going to put some of the basics in here. So I have a podcast folder where I've got everything. You'll see a ton of crap in here for sure. So I'm going to start with the music tracks. So I've got, I actually import, it's called Future Abstract. Okay. Future Abstract Urban Hip Hop. So I am just dragging and dropping it to the bottom. So it's almost like, I'm doing it twice. So one's for the beginning, one's for the end, because I'm going to edit them both. And then I also want to put in the transition. So I have one that I've done before. It's just a few seconds. And that's for when I'll transition. I'll put these in order in a minute. But the transition is when I go from my intro to the actual interview. Some people, depending on how you guys want to do it, some people will put like a brief snippet of the audio right in the beginning and then go into their music. I start with the music first. There's no right or wrong here. It's just what you feel is going to work the best for you. So I want to go to, so I've got all these things. So I've got Tanya Jordan's intro that I've done. And I'm just dragging and dropping in the outro here. And last but not least, is I've got an intro of the main one. So I have a little left of center intro that is kicks off every single show that I do. And then I have an intro of just, whoever it is that I'm talking to for that specific week. So I have it set up as LLOC Master, I think. LLOC, okay, Intro Master. So I'm going to drag and drop this here. Need a little more space. Okay, so now let's put these in order. What I want to do is I want to mute some of the ones that come a little bit later. So this one, I'm muting the outro. The intro, the LLOC intro, I'm going to move it to the top. So I just click on this little cursor, this drop down button, move track to top. So now it's up here. And I usually have one of the music ones. We'll mute this one. This will be for the outro that I'll manipulate in a bit. And then I'll take this drop down and move this to the top. So I have music, the LLOC, little left of center intro. I'm going to mute the meat and potatoes of this. And the transition, I'll throw this up at the top too. And the intro. All right, so everything else is muted. Now I just want to make sure these sound good and I put them in order. So I'm going to put this music all the way to the top here. And the LLOC intro, I'm going to move this right below. So here's what I do. I normally will zoom in here and go all the way to the beginning, and I'll start to move things around. So here is like just some dead space. Now I know that these are, I'm selecting these three and just cutting them off. So I'm deleting that so it just goes right into the music. So I'm going to go click on this time shift tool right up here. And I'm going to move this 5 seconds in. And then just for giggles, I'll just move this right after. Click on the selection tool, get rid of some of the dead space here. And you'll see here, if I'm going to move, so you have to kind of click back and forth again with these three things. So there's the envelope tool, which helps modulate the sound up or down. The selection tool is basically that. You're selecting things you can delete. And then the time shift tool is when you're moving tracks. So let me click on that. If I click through here, you'll see this yellow line comes up. That's where it's completely lined up. So that's a really good tool for you to know. But let's see, let me mute this transition. So I just have these three things unmuted. So I'm going to click on the selection tool, go back to the beginning, and see how this sounds.
Hey, I'm Allison here, and welcome to Little Left of Center, the podcast that interviews culture changers that are reshaping our world and breaking new ground when it comes to protecting your kids.
Okay, so a few things with this. First of all, this is fine, the music, but we want to bring it down. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go on this envelope tool. We're going to click, you see the cursors change to those little two triangles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here so they have that, and then I'm going to click right next to it and bring this all the way down. So that way the music's there, you can hear it, but it fades and gets a lot less loud. So that way it's not competing with the sound. The other thing that I want to do is I don't know that there's enough of a space between when my normal intro connects to the intro of this. So I'll move it slightly. Let's see how it sounds.
Ground. When it comes to protecting your kids, you would do anything, right? Right? Social media and phones have...
All right, so now I think that this editing could be slightly higher. Oops. And that should be fine. So now what I want to do is zoom out a little bit. Now my music cuts out. I think it's like just under I think it's 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and I cut it out a little bit with some of that. So let's see how it sounds.
Pose as an 11-year-old girl on Instagram, and the reality of what unfolded was so disturbing. And in the past few weeks, Bark has been featured on Good Morning America, Dr. Oz.
Okay, that sounds fine. So what I'm going to do here is as I close up here.
Here's my chat with Tanya Jordan of Bark.
So I'm going to move this transition. So let me zoom out a little bit, unmute it, and move it using this time shift tool. And I'll line it up here. And then I want to unmute the actual interview and move it right here and make sure there's the yellow line so it's all timed up nicely. So let's see how it sounds. I go back to selection tool.
It's Tanya Jordan of Bark.
I'll probably tighten that up too.
I got the Bark report, the 2019 Bark report.
All right, let me just tighten this up a little bit. You guys are really getting into the little obsession that I get into with making sure some of these sound perfect. But again, I don't get too crazy about it. If I hear it and I can change it, I will. But if it's, if it's whatever, I leave it. Let's see.
Save your kid's life. Here's my chat with Tanya Jordan of Bark.
All right, slightly more. Okay.
Pete, this episode could save your kid's life. Here's my chat with Tanya Jordan of Bark. I got the Bark report, the 2019 Bark report, and after picking my...
All right, so I have gone through and edited this. I may clean it up a little bit. First of all, I'm going to make sure I save projects. So the save project, I already have it as Tanya Jordan interview edit. So I've got it as my working file. So you want to save the project as often as you can. Because this is a free platform, every once in a while it may crash. So you want to make sure it's saved, but it's pretty good at recovering stuff too. But if you've done some work with it, we want to make sure that we keep it a little bit tighter. I will actually tighten this and make it sound a little bit better. But let's go to the end. We're going to do the time shift tool. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to unmute these. So what we have left is the music, and we've got the outro. So normally I'll just move this track up. And I'll move this over. So I'll just drag it here. I'll put the yellow line, even though I'll probably fix it. And then usually when I start saying thank you to my guest is when I have the music start, but I have it low. And then I'll fade it up. So now I'm going back here. Let me just see how this sounds so far, where it is.
It might help you keep them safer in the places where they're playing.
That is great. Thank you so.
All right, so I'm going to.
That is great. Thank
Okay, so what I'm going to do is this is where I start saying thank you. So we don't want to cut her off. But it does signal that the episode is ending. So let me go back to the selection tool. And make sure it's kind of lined up. Okay. Let me check it.
That is great. Thank you so much. You're a culture changer.
Okay. So the music's too loud here, so we want to make sure. So I'm going to make I turned on the envelope tool. So I want to use these cursors and put little cursors here, these little white things, and then pull it down like this so it's not competing. I also want to cut off this. This is like whatever dead space is right before it, and cut off the end. So sometimes you can hear the click of where I turn on and off the Zoom recorder. So let's see how this sounds.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. I'm pretty sure that every last one of you downloaded Bark during this call, and I applaud you for it. Use the discount.
Okay. I think that this could use a little bit of a space. It doesn't have to be exact or just cut it, but just for some natural pause here. So as I finish this,
And I will see you next week.
so here I'll be able to pull up this. So I have to do 2 of these to move one up. And then I can just slowly fade it out. You don't need a ton of time with this. I'm just pulling these down. And let's hear how it sounds.
And I will see you next week.
Not too bad. So there is the episode. The whole thing is edited. And now what I can do is I can go back. Let's see. First, of course, you want to save it. And then you want to export it as an MP3. And with this MP3, that is what I'm going to upload into. I actually am going to make some edits because I need to add a discount code to this. But I'm going to take this and then I'm going to export it to MP3 and then import it into my Castos site, or my podcast hosting site, and then put in all the, the information about the episode and get it ready to be scheduled. So that is it. Hopefully this is helpful and not too confusing, but of course, post any questions in the Facebook group. We've got our final call on Thursday, and happy to answer any questions for you. But that's it.